All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, again, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Christopher Jammer. I am one of the account managers with Airrosti Rehab Centers here in our Austin region. Today, we have with us Dr. Sean Small, who's one of our providers in our North Austin location. And just before we get started, just to go over some housekeeping things, as you all might have noticed whenever you joined the presentation that your microphones were muted. We ask that you keep your microphones muted so that we can cut down on some of the background noise that might come from a lot of different speakers being on at one time. But if you have any questions, we encourage you to definitely shoot those over to us in the Zoom chat function so that we can make sure to get those answered for you in real times. Also, if you are joining us via a computer or your cell phone, so we can make sure that you're able to get credit for attending this webinar, we ask that you send over your first name, your last name, and your employee ID number so I can get that taken down to get over to your wellness department to give you points for that. But without further ado, just to go ahead and get into the content of the presentation. Like I said, we are with the Airrosti Rehab Centers, which we are basically a group of healthcare providers that specialize in treating soft tissue injuries, anything from your head to your toes, as long as it's not a broken bone, a full thickness tear, or a fracture within the bone is going to be something within our wheelhouse. So not only do we treat a lot of these particular injuries that come into our offices, we like to do something, be preventative and proactive and help people in their healthcare so that we bring you different presentations and talk about a lot of conditions you might be dealing with on a daily basis to where it's something that you might wake up with, something you might happen at the gym, but helping you to be proactive in that. And so today we're going to talk about a condition that Dr. Small sees coming into his office almost daily called tech neck. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Small, and he's going to take us through the actual content.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you all for being here today. So like you said, tech neck's a pretty common thing that we see in our office here at Airrosti. And really the cause of it can be working at your desk and looking at your computer, looking at your phone for long periods of time. So we're going to talk about understanding what it is today, what kind of conditions and pains occur with tech neck, like how to know what it is and if you have it, and then how we can prevent it, and some tools that you guys can use at home to really keep it under control and possibly keep you feeling better when you're working at your desk, looking at your computer or your phone for long periods of time. All right, so to really just define what tech neck is, it's not actually a medical diagnosis. It's more of a nomenclature for a syndrome of modern lifestyle these days. As you guys know, we are constantly connected to our iPhones, to our computers, and we're always looking down at those objects and devices. So that's going to cause us to create bad habits really in our posture. So as you can see from the diagram here of the skeleton, he's looking down at his phone, and that's going to cause discomfort from the prolonged use of these devices and looking down, because you're going to get areas tightening up, getting sore. And like I said before, this is something I see all the time. And if you guys, any of you have kids, you probably have to tell them to stop looking at their phone all the time. And I see a lot of kids in here that are looking down at their cell phones too much, and they have these injuries as well. So it's not just reserved for us in the working world. It's our younger population that you guys probably see in your classrooms from day to day as well. So the chief complaints of tech neck, it's going to be neck and the pain in the neck and shoulders, and that can even be in the arms from holding the same position for long periods of time. I know you guys have probably been in a situation where you're on your phone and you look up and an hour has gone by. So the static holding the same position for long periods of time is going to cause this soreness as well. We see headaches associated with this kind of habit as well as numbness and tingling in the arms, often confused with carpal tunnel syndrome, but the root cause of it is actually this tech neck syndrome. So upper cross syndrome is another term you're going to hear. Upper cross syndrome is defined as a compromise in the musculoskeletal system, which tightens or facilitates the anterior compartment or the upper torso. So when I say anterior compartment, that's going to be everything on the front of your torso. And that part of your body is going to tighten down. So as you saw from that diagram, he was rolling his shoulders forward, his head was down. That's going to cause your pecs, your front of your shoulder, all to tighten down. And then you're going to experience a weakness on the backside. It's kind of an imbalance of your musculoskeletal system. So what can help that is better posture, but upper cross syndrome is that repetitive tightening on the front, weakening in the back. So a lot of what we focus on at Airrosti is strengthening those muscles in the back around the shoulder blades and stretching out the muscles in the front. So we're going to go through in a minute just how to keep these things loosened up and then also strengthen the other side of the back of the shoulders. Another thing that I see all the time is tension headaches. So all this you'll see over the course of this presentation, these things are connected. So if you've got something going on in your shoulders, in your neck, that's going to affect the muscles at the base of your head, which is going to cause this band-like tension or tension headache that results from this tightness. So we see a lot of that from these day-to-day habits, and the cause of these headaches can be caused by a number of things. With the tension type headaches, it's muscular based, but headaches in general can be caused by diet, fitness, hormones, stress. So, you know, when people come in to see me at Airrosti, we kind of pinpoint what the root cause of these headaches are and see like where's their diet at, where's their fitness at, how are they dealing with their stress. And a lot of times, you know, we take away those stressors in their life and also do the work that we do here at Airrosti, you'll see those headaches go down. But the most common, you know, issues I see with headaches is it starts with the tension in the back of the head and the neck. So with the mid back pain, that can be, as I was mentioning before, from the rolling forward of the shoulder. So you're going to get pain in your thoracic spine, which is that's kind of your mid back between your shoulder blades. And oftentimes that can be connected to this neck pain as well. So if you feel yourself, you know, when you're sitting at your computer for long periods of time, having to kind of like move your shoulders around or feel even just like some tightness between the shoulder blades that seems to never go away, a lot of that can be from prolonged sitting at a desk. You know, that's super common. And a lot of times we're going to really focus on those areas that you see highlighted here on the muscle chart. And those are a muscle group called your rhomboids, and they squeeze your shoulder blades together and keep your shoulders set back. So they're a very important muscle to keep strengthened when your posture is suffering from, you know, this prolonged time at your computer, at your desk, and on your phone as well. So irritation, joint dysfunction, or herniated disc is a very rare cause of something like this. I barely ever see in that kind of issue. So it's mostly related to the posture, the muscular imbalances. All right. So some of the symptoms of thoracic outlet syndrome. So thoracic outlet syndrome is, again, connected with all these specific muscle groups. So it can be pain in the neck, shoulders, tingling in the fingers, and weak grip. So that can often be confused with carpal tunnel syndrome. But a lot of times when we address the muscle groups and work through these areas, these symptoms will go away. So that indicates that this is actually an issue with the shoulders, with the pec muscles and the neck as well. So compression and pressure on the blood vessels and the nerves passing through the collarbone. So we all have this big bundle of nerves that comes through the collarbone and the neck area, and it gives feeling and sensation and movement to your upper extremities or your hands and arms. So a lot of times when these nerves are compressed, you're going to get that tingling. Tight muscles compress those nerves from sitting for long periods of time. So that pec muscle, going through a stretch for that pec muscle is going to relieve these symptoms oftentimes. So here we arrive at carpal tunnel. So you're going to get tingling, numbness, or pain felt in the fingers, or it's less commonly in the palm. It's mostly going to show up in the fingers, but they often occur in parts of the hand supplied by the median nerve, which is going to be these three fingers: your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger. So if you have a pattern of numbness or tingling in this area here, that's oftentimes because of carpal tunnel, because of prolonged wrist flexion, and that's that typing position. When you have your hands in the same position, there's going to be a lot of compression on that carpal tunnel where those nerves come through. So here's some things we can do that I do in my office every day to prevent upper cross syndrome. So strengthening exercises, I'm a big proponent of strengthening. A lot of times we start with the self-release, like the foam rolling, with the stretching, but really what's going to get you long-term results is strengthening these muscular imbalances. So when people are sitting at their desk for long periods of time, we need to address a lot of muscle groups that are just not doing their job, not working the way they need to. So all three of these things in conjunction are really helpful for an issue like this. So foam rolling, that's kind of basics for anything that's going to be giving you problems throughout the shoulders and thoracic or mid back area. So this is really a good way to get blood flow into these tight muscles that you're feeling, throughout the day. And there's a lot of different techniques that I teach in my office on how to really target and pinpoint these muscle groups with the foam roller. You'd be surprised by how people just aren't aware of how to use these foam rollers. And so we take you through the techniques in our office and how to really specifically target these muscle groups. So a seated neck stretch, very simple. What you can do is, as you see by the picture, she's anchoring her hands on the sides of her stool and she's just coming over with her neck. You can even bring an arm over and kind of assist yourself. Just do this very lightly. You don't want to overdo this in any way. And then you can kind of anchor the arm down on the other side and just do it from side to side. See what you feel. It shouldn't be overly painful. It should be just on the verge of, oh, that feels like a good stretch. If I went a little farther, that might be uncomfortable. But just when you're going through these stretches, I want you to take deep breaths as you're going through, and on those exhales, you'll find that you can take that stretch a little bit farther. So stretching is something that it's a process. We have to work at it. So doing a little bit every day, you'll start to see a difference. But you don't have to be a hero with stretching. It's one of those things that we see progress over a longer period of time in our office with the stretching. So the wall stretch, this is one that really can target your pec muscle that I was mentioning earlier, that can be super tight when you're on your phone, when you're at your computer typing, because we tend to just round those shoulders forward. So what this is doing is working that pec and that arm in the opposite direction of what you're usually doing day to day. And what you can do is, you see how she's grabbing that wall, and she's also looking away from where her arm is anchored against the wall. And the more you look away, the more you're going to find that you get a good stretch all the way through the neck and through the pec, all through this area. And do these on both sides, and you'll probably find that one side is going to be more tight than the other. Typically, I see my patients having more tightness on their right side because they're always reaching for their mouse and using this side a little bit more. And so it becomes a little bit more tightened down and injured throughout the process of using that mouse every day. So protraction, So this is a chin tuck. So it's kind of silly, but you want to kind of imagine yourself making a double chin as you're coming back. And you're going to feel like a good stretch between your shoulder blades almost when you're doing that. So a good way to gauge if you're actually doing this right is to bring your hand to your chin and kind of come back like that. And you can feel like how far you can make it back. I just use that as a good gauge of like how much movement, because it's a very subtle movement when you're doing this. Another way you can do this is just when you're laying in bed at night, pushing your head back against your pillow, you'll feel a lot of those posterior neck muscles engaging. And that's a good way to kind of actively, activate those muscles. And I tend to feel that really well, but this is a good way to do it at your desk throughout the day. All right, the wall angel. So if you find yourself a wall, what you're going to do is come into the goalpost position. And I want you to have your elbows like against the wall. And what you're going to do is slide up the wall while keeping contact with your elbows all the way up and then bringing them back down. So it's a good stretch all the way back down. So what this does is activates those rhomboid, or those muscles that set those shoulder blades back. This will really improve your posture. So you'll see a big difference in this one. And this one, I mean, you can do it for just a few minutes a day. I recommend twice a day for my patients to do their exercises. So beginning of the day and end of the day, this is just a really good one to take breaks throughout the day when you're working at your desk. So it gets you up, gets you active, and activates these muscles that need to be turned on.
All right, Dr. Small, we greatly appreciate you going over those exercises and those specific conditions that you see come into your office that deal specifically with TechNet. If anyone has any questions, definitely shoot those over to us in the chat function where you guys send me your employee ID number, so that once we get to the end of this presentation, we can have Dr. Small answer some questions for you guys in real time. But to just go over some more specific conditions or things about Airrosti. So like we said at the beginning, we're a healthcare provider group that works on what we call soft tissue injuries. So the really cool thing about Airrosti is that we've taken kind of the best of the chiropractic world, best of physical therapy world, and put it together in a treatment model that gets our patients better a lot more efficiently and a lot faster. So on average, we only have to see our patients, as you can see, about 3.2, between 3 and 4 different visits that you come to get full pain resolution. Also, what we pride ourselves on is for a lot of our patients that come in that might be recommended of a surgery or might actually be scheduled for a surgery, we've been actually able to avoid a lot of those things that people have come in with. And also, we make sure that our patients are in the right place whenever they come and see us. So we don't want to get into the hamster wheel kind of healthcare to where we're doing the same things if you've been to see a former chiropractor or going to traditional physical therapy, gone to a specialist, or even receive imaging. We want to make sure that if you're in our place or if you're with us, if you come to see us, that we're able to get you out of the pain that you actually come in with. So, and also today, Dr. Small talks specifically about conditions associated with techniques. So using different things of technology, whether it be a computer, whether it be a cell phone, a tablet, or any of that stuff. But also he sees a lot of different conditions coming to his office. So it could be something acute like a hamstring strain, an ankle sprain, um, headaches, or things of that sort. But it could be something chronic in nature that you've been dealing with for months, years, and decades on end. For instance, like plantar fasciitis or like sciatic-like pain and things of that sort. So, and lastly, Airrosti is an in-network benefit for all Austin ISD and the health plan members. You don't need a referral to go see any of our providers in our clinic. So making sure that they are still open and we're adhering to all the recommendations of the CDC, just to make sure that not only are our treatment teams in a safe position, but also all of our providers and our patients that come in to see us. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar, I will be sending a follow-up email, so you guys will have Dr. Small's contact information, which is on the screen as you can see, but also you'll have his clinic location, which is off of 38th and Medical Parkway up at the Austin Regional Clinic facilities up there. So
yeah, Medical Park Tower. It's that big old building. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it.
there we go. So again, we thank you guys for joining us today. If you have any questions, shoot those over into the Zoom chat function. And I'll say this again, that if you are on the webinar and you have access to the Zoom chat, if you have not sent over your employee ID number to me, surely send that over so I can get you to make sure that we get you credit for joining this webinar with us today. But if not, we hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you next time.